levels of growth for students, for all the students, whether disabled or non-disabled. The first one is transition to the college setting from the school, adjustment to the college life, and then transition from college to the work field. So how the students with disability cope up with all these three periods of transitions greatly influences their future life, their future career development. And the more integrated they feel in the college environment or the campus environment, the more successful they would be in their future life. That I feel. The two factors that are most important for their integration, they are the ease with which they interact with their peer group and the receptiveness of the faculty members, the teachers, the staff members and all. And as a counselor, I believe that how the students with disability perceive their educational environment also strongly influences their career development. Opportunities to negotiate accommodations, develop positive relationship with professors and teachers, form study groups, develop friendships and participate in extracurricular activities serve as foundation for being able to negotiate accommodation in the future life, in the world of work, and how they deal with the co-workers when they are working. So all these kind of relationships, they are very productive. If they start getting developed during their students' life, they can be very productive for them. But we see that in higher education setup in India, students with disability, they have to face various kind of barriers, from physical obstacles to the systematic barriers in curriculum, and then to the attitudinal barriers. Attitudinal barriers are invisible and intangible, so they cannot be seen, neither be audited, but yes, they are always present there. And I have always liked this line by Hans Reindeers. He said that inclusion is necessary but not a sufficient case for inclusion. Like space is necessary but not a sufficient condition for inclusion, because we may provide a space, but we may not provide space in our hearts and minds to the students with disabilities. We can open doors for them, we can build ramps for them, but building ramps doesn't mean that the university job is done. Though we may have a tendency in India to give more stress on mobility issues, but on attitudinal barriers, nobody thinks. Social and emotional learning skills such as self-advocacy and self-determination, problem-solving, employability skills, they are all critical to the success in life. But if we have a closer look on students with disabilities, they would score less. If we have some research work, or if we gather some data, we would always find these students would score less as compared to the non-disabled peers. So, and the students with learning disabilities, they face more rampant discrimination on this scale, on attitudinal barriers. They may be judged, they may be discriminated, and they may be even ridiculed to some extent. They then become prone to, they might even they fall under drug addiction, they can develop suicidal tendencies, because if one is feeling hopeless and depressed, one tends to find ways through oversimplification of life, like committing suicide and all. And if we just see the research work done, not in India, because in India such data is always missing, but if we see from the foreign universities and data there, we would find that students discontinue their studies only because they are discriminated. Because no other intervention to break down barriers would work unless a student wants to attend college. And attitudinal barriers, they lead to non-desire to attend college. So higher education, the doors for higher education, they automatically get closed for them. As I believe, not in Delhi, I am not talking about Delhi University or JNU or any particular university, but in India we have thousands and hundreds of universities. The major problem is we see there is nothing higher in higher education setup in India. the word higher is missing, because when we talk about least restrictive environment, we always forget to talk about the attitudinal barriers like fear, uncertainty, overprotection, hero worship, stereotyping, backlash, spread effect, and everything like that. The students with disabilities have always to face such barriers. First, the staff and the academic staff, the admission staff, sometimes even the courses are mentioned in the prospectus or during induction program, clearly stating that such courses cannot be taken by, they might not be stating in clear terms, but they might intend to tell that such courses should not be taken by students with disabilities, because they fear, they have apprehension that students with disability would not be able to complete such courses. And even in certain activities on campus, off campus, where it involves public dealing or interacting with other people, the activities, they might also be discriminated on that ground. They might not be taken out of the campus to do some field work and all. And one of the greatest barrier which a student faces from his or her teacher is the low expectation which a teacher might have from the student with disability. आप तो कर लेंगे, कोई बात नहीं, आप थोड़ा भी कर लीजिए, बहुत है. तो ये जो attitude है, low expectation, that is the major most barrier for a student to move ahead in life. And sometimes the teachers might feel that they are overburdened if they are to accommodate students with disabilities, overburdened with certain kind of work, the way of explanation and all. So they might feel that it is an encroachment on their way to work, how and when and how to teach. Changes in curriculum are also not easily welcomed by the teachers. And the staff, when it has to accommodate students with disability, they might blame the student with disability, that it is because of them they have to do the adjustment and all. So they might develop what is called hide, buy and hope you will not die attitude. Then there are attitude of peers. There can be friendships, there can be strong bonds between two people, a disabled and a non-disabled student, but that can be a kind of over-protection. Doing work instead of the student with disability, the non-disabled peer would say that I can do your work, I will do your work, you don't do it. So the kind of over-protection, this is also a kind of attitudinal barrier. So this obstructs their effective participation in all kinds of activities. This can be unintentional, but students, they themselves might feel uncomfortable due to the over-display of care, over-display of overprotection, and sometimes this can lead to their marginalization. When disabilities are apparent, means a wheelchair user, a white cane, facial disfigurement, or whatever, if the disabilities are apparent, then the non-disabled peers might avoid contact with students with disability, and this is clearly visible to everybody. This avoidance is clearly visible, and when the disabilities are invisible, and when the people around the student, they come to know about the invisible disability, they might show a feeling of shock or repulsion, which is again a kind of attitudinal barrier, and that is really painful for the student himself. Government institutions in India, the students with disability, they enter with some kind of quota and all. Many places there are things like that, quota admission and all. So this again brings down a feeling of otherness. Like students with disability are non-deserving, therefore they have come through a quota system. So these things, they always obstruct meaningful and sensible communication and interactions between the groups. This can lead to internalization of oppression by the student with disability, internalization of disability, that we are disabled, we cannot do something, and they just get demotivated at that point. And this leads to their non-disclosure of disabilities many times. They don't want to disclose their disability because they know when we do so, we would be facing such kind of stigma. We would be stigmatized. And the peer group mainly has certain preconceived notions for students with disability, like students with disability are different in all aspects of life, which I don't believe. Students with disability are dependent and helpless, which I again don't believe. Boys with disabilities are less masculine because other boys may tease them that you are less masculine, you cannot date more. Girls with disabilities are less feminine. And students with disabilities, they always seem to be more anxious, which is again wrong. Their anxiety might be due to the attitudinal barriers posed by the others, but it is not that, it is not inherent in them. So attitude towards self then becomes, they start feeling they have low self-esteem. They start feeling bad about themselves. They have low confidence, low self-determination. They can't advocate for themselves. They can't ask for accommodations for themselves. So this leads to a kind of vicious circle. And how do we deconstruct these barriers? How do we break down this barrier? The staff and the teachers, it is their foremost duty to at least start. The foremost step which they can take is not expect less from students with disabilities. They have to be motivated, they have to be brought to the mainstream, they have to be made competitive. Unless the students with disabilities feel competition with others in the matter of academics, they won't be able to move ahead in life. And the students with disabilities, they need assertion. They need to be trained in assertive skills. They have to ask for their accommodations. They have to stand up for their rights. And they have to teach their peer groups or the teachers that, okay, I have a disability, but they can state themselves clearly that the others have to embrace them, embrace their diversities. And the equal opportunity offices or equal opportunity cells, they have to work, they have to develop a toolbox, a kind of toolbox for all the colleges, even for the staff members, for the peer group, and keep on having workshops, educating others about different kind of disabilities. Students with disabilities can register at the offices whatever accommodations they need. And it should not be like that. For 3/4 of the semesters, they would have to keep running, asking for their accommodations. Like I would need some extra time, I would need some special software or whatever needs they have. They must register whatever they need at the beginning of the semester so that they may not have to run about. And the student-run referral centers must be set for both. It should contain both students with disability and non-disabilities. And the most important thing a university can have is counselors for them. Like I am doing my voluntary work for UCMS, Delhi University Medical College, and I feel that their students, they need counseling. When they feel isolated, when they feel bad about themselves, they just can call me. And I do understand because I myself have a disability. So I can relate very well to them, how I used to feel when I used to study. So counselors are must for any university. It should be a compulsory position for every university, and they can educate both the staff members, the other students, to break down this attitudinal barriers. So I would like to conclude by saying that when inclusive education is embraced, it is mandatory that we abandon the feeling of being so-called normality. We have to abandon the feeling of looking someone as normal as we do in everyday life, and we have to embrace the diversity in every sphere of life. University campuses can offer an ambient environment in that. Thank you.